Bob Walters. Welcome to Locked Up Sports Weekend Wrap-Up. Again, Tuesday, it's a midweek. It's our second show. We do 2 shows. It's our second show of the week, all right? Real quick, this was going to be a quick about a half-hour show. I'm going to the Mets game in a little while. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going back out there. I don't know why. Why am I going? I don't know. Mets, White Sox, it's not exactly an appealing matchup, but, we'll see. Yankees with a loss last night. They continue to look bad against Ohtani and the Angels, and striking out 17 times. The Yankees, they're blowing leads. I told you to put. You know what? I said in my grades, my midseason grades, that the Yankees bullpen was a C, and you know what? It is a C. I think I had reevaluated. I gave you the B because everybody bitched and moaned at me that they were better. What do I even know what I'm talking about? Well, you know what? They blow big games, and last night was a big game, and the bullpen again blew it. I don't blame them for pitching to Ohtani when they did. You gotta. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't. He's not Barry Bonds. You can't give him the Barry Bonds treatment. He's not hitting 70 home runs. You already had walked him once with a runner on first. Listen, he's a great player. He's a great hitter. He beat you, but the bullpen again after Severino out of nowhere pitches, what did he pitch? 5 or 6 excellent innings. It was the most unlikely pitcher's duel this season last night into that 6th inning. And the bullpen came on. The Yankees got some runs. They had a 2-run lead, and then Ohtani tied it, and then the Yankees took another lead, and they blew it again. They got out of a jam in the 9th, and then in the 10th inning, the Angels walked it off with a base hit into left field. And the Yankees now find themselves 5 games over 500. They, listen, they're right in last place. Like we've been saying, they're closer to last place than they are to first place. But they do still have a shot. They are still in the playoff, the wild card, thing. But this could fall apart quickly, very quickly for the Yankees. Now, I want to get quickly now, because we don't have a lot of time. I'm doing the show late. We have a guest on, Mark Mancini. He's a baseball lifer. He's a radio lifer. He's all over the place. We're on radio, on podcasts. You see him everywhere. So let's get right to that. We'll have our guest, and then we're going to talk some baseball with him. And here's my spot with Mark Mancini. Now we'd like to welcome in our guest. We're going to try and do this every week. His name's Mark Mancini. Listen, he's been all over the place. He's been XM, Sirius. He's done Pittsburgh podcasts, Pirates podcasts with the first base coach for 3 years. He's done it for 10 years. He's got podcasts all over the world here. Every time I see you got a different podcast. Mark, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This is a show that's sweeping the country, my friend. New York, wake up, man. It's a must-see TV show.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Show across the continent, man.
Mark saw us on LinkedIn, and he had to have it. He had to be on it. Yeah. Now, you're out in L.A. The Yankees are out in L.A. this week.
Yeah.
They're playing the Angels. Ohtani is, obviously the big story going around. Do you see them trading Ohtani? Do you see the Angels keeping him? What do you see going on there?
Well, a good friend of mine is their general manager, Mancini in there. And I'll tell you, looking at what's going on there in Anaheim, I think they're going to try to keep him. They're going to have to do something to solidify that. Who knows what's going to go on with Trout. The Angels are coming on. They're putting it together. He's made some good acquisitions during the winter season there, picking up Renfroe, picking up Urshela, and guys like that, guys that eat up innings, and Tyler Anderson. I like the position they're in. I mean, the division, Bochy's got the Rangers playing good baseball in the American League West, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to me, you could sit here and tell me all you want that they're in good position. That they're like 5 or 6 games out of the wild card, okay? They basically have Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle on their team, and they haven't made the playoffs yet. They haven't made the playoffs. Trout has 0 playoff wins. Ohtani hasn't gotten near the playoffs yet in his couple of years. I don't think maybe he doesn't want the bright lights. It would have to also be a trade and sign, I would think, right? Because he's just a rent. You're not going to rent him.
The problem is you can spend money foolishly, and we'll see, in your backyard what's happening. We're seeing it in San Diego. But you can also spend money smart and build something through that. If they're going to get rid of one, maybe you get rid of Trout and get some prospects and stuff. I think you got to build around Ohtani. He's younger. He's a two-way player. We saw what the draft is in Pittsburgh when they picked up, Skeens there, a two-way guy. They're picking up guys that fit the city. I think you got to pick up a guy that fits the city. I don't think Ohtani will go back east. I think if he leaves Anaheim, he's going to Seattle.
Yeah, well, Seattle is the place where a lot of you had Ichiro. A lot of the Asian guys like to stay out west. I guess closer to home. And the Angels are making a boatload of money. They have every game is broadcast over there in Japan. It's just he's a money making machine. They sell it. They're 5 games out of the wild card. They're selling the place out. Now they had the Yankees last night. And the Yankees gave him a little bit of the Ohtani treatment. I mean the Ohtani treatment. Listen to me. The Barry Bonds treatment. First and third. First and third, and they walked him. And then they didn't walk him the second time up, and they ended up paying the prices. He hit a 2-run homer.
Well, and when you look at the Yankees, let's face it, this ain't the Yankees with Joe Torre, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez. This is a patchwork Yankee team that's trying to pretend they belong. And let's face it, they're closer to last than they are closer to first. They draw well on the road. Big market team. We've seen this with a lot of things. But this is a team that, who we kidding, man? We're going to go into August and we're going to think the Yankees are going to get into a playoff position here.
No, yeah, listen, they might squeak into that last wild card, but yeah, they're like the Cowboys. The Cowboys have won 2 playoff games in 30 years. They still will. I still know 30 Cowboy fans, and I'm in New York. But that's what the Yankees are going to do. Now, on the other end, I love that the Yankees are bad. Listen, when it comes to the Yankees, I was in prime sports watching age when they were running through this dynasty.
Yeah,
I had to go to high school every day.
25-3 and 78. I can remember the guys and sitting down talking to a Johnny Damon a year or so ago, great guy and everything. And when you talk about these guys and everything, it's a far cry. Baseball's changed now. I mean, it really has since when, in the heyday. Now you got guys that are switching teams. It's hard to build, dynasties there. And let's face it, I still think the Blue Jays. I've had the Blue Jays to win the American League now for a couple seasons. I still think they can get there. And keep your eyes. They're young. They've got some key components there. Kiermaier from Tampa. I like their pitching. Manoah, if he can figure it out, but them young bats, Bichette and Guerrero Jr., watch out.
Yeah, listen, how about they have all the kids. They're like the kids of the old. It's got Guerrero and was it Biggio's kid, and it's got
Biggio's
everybody.
Here. Yeah, they got some guys, man. They'll
Guerrero looks just like his pops. He looks just like his pops. The swing, everything about him looks just like his pops.
Yep, and Chapman, Chapman's over there. So
yep.
I like the Blue Jays.
Okay, I like the Orioles. I love Rutschman. I think Rutschman is just as good as the kid we have here in Flushing, Alvarez. He was the number 1 pick. They started getting it going last year when he came up. They kind of ran out of steam. But this year now, the Tampa built up that 13-game win streak to start the season. They've used every bit of that cushion. I think that right on their heels is now Baltimore. And, I think Baltimore flies past them. Toronto's a good team, though. Toronto and Baltimore, it absolutely is. Now, in Flushing, where I'm actually headed in a little bit because I'm a sucker. Listen, I'm going to – I know it's over. I know it's over. But I'll be there. The White Sox, it's what a terrible game, right? And I'm sitting here. It's raining outside, and I'm going to I'm trucking my ass down there to Citi Field tonight. But
I love the Interleague, baby, man. The Interleague's great, man. I love the Interleague. Everybody comes in now. You see the Sox. You see maybe Robert Jr. there. I mean, he's having a great year with the White Sox. I mean, they're struggling. It's a far cry, but you're talking about arms. You're talking about catchers. Once Henry Davis in Pittsburgh gets behind that plate, keep your eye on him. He's got a cannon in right field, man. Everybody that comes through Pittsburgh can either hit or they can throw.
Yeah, and tonight you got 2 guys who you got Carrasco going. He's 3, he's got a 5+ ERA. And you got Giolito, who's got a 3, 4, 5 ERA. Giolito's going to be traded. He's definitely going to be traded. I don't know what Carrasco.
Local kid out here, California. And, we'll find out what they do. Trading deadline's less than 2 weeks away, so we're going to find out what goes on. But, there's surprises and there's disappointments. I'll tell you the big surprises in your backyard with the Mets, man. What's going on, man? They got Alvarez, and then they just can't flat out hit. McNeil's not hitting. Alonso's not hitting. Escobar, you traded. The pitching. Scherzer's been the only bright spot in that pitching.
It was over before it started with the WBC with Diaz, first of all. And then
Yeah.
he went down. And then now nobody hit. I mean, we got the batting champion from last year who's hitting 240. We got nobody. No, Alonso, he was hurt for a little bit. He's been hitting. It's just, and on top of it all, Scherzer and Verlander have been very underwhelming, very big disappointments. They got old right before our eyes here. Scherzer got old last year, and the Braves don't lose. Last year,
Yeah.
the other night when the Mets finally won a game against the Dodgers, you got Buck in the press conference sitting there telling you how it's so hard to win a major league game. Well, somebody tell the Braves how hard it is to win because they don't lose, and
Let me
they
tell
never
you,
lose.
The Braves are like the Cardinals, or like the San Antonio Spurs, or like
Yeah.
the New England Patriots.
St.
I
Louis
mean,
Blues.
Pittsburgh Penguins. They just tweak it a little. They bring in key components. Acuna's a 5-tool guy. He could be let me tell you something. This kid.
They
could
let
be right up
Freeman
there
go, and they let Freeman go, who's one of the best players, and they just picked right up. I can't
Yeah,
even.
you
Don't get me
pick up
started now
Olsen,
before they go to the game.
They let Swanson go. You got the best infield in baseball.
The whole infield made the All-Star team. There was 2 innings that the whole infield was the Braves.
Yeah.
I hate the Braves.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been going on for quite a while, even with
30 years.
Maddox, Avery, and all those guys. They continue to win. They just go about their business, and I'll tell you, man, it's another team you better watch out for because they're coming on and nobody's talking about them. I'm blessed to do a podcast with those guys. Is the San Francisco Giants. Giants are another team.
I'm not crazy. I think the Giants, and I think there's a lot. I think the only hope that the Mets had, I don't think they have any hope now because I think, but I think the only hope that they had was that a couple of the teams, because they had to jump 4 or 5 teams ahead of them in that wild card race, were kind of frauds. I thought you saw your Pirates early in the season. They jumped out. I think the first thing I ever saw from you was that caught my eye was you posted something about I'm guaranteeing a Pirates division champ, and I laughed. I laughed, but then they were like 2 weeks later. They were like 10 games over 500. They were the big story in baseball, so they've kind of come back down. They've faded now, but I think a couple of those other teams, the Giants, I think will fade. I think Arizona will fade, but I don't think the Mets are gonna.
The team that's gonna, I had 25-1 odds on them to not make the playoffs, and that's the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to be a team here that, could fade down. They have no strong pitching. Other than, Kershaw, if he's healthy, and Urias has been doing it with smoke and mirrors. They got a lot of question marks. The bullpen's been taxed. There's no closer back there. And they only have really 3 hitters, Freeman, Betts, and Smith. And, Muncie's batting 180 with 27 home runs, so go figure that.
It's like Donaldson over on the Yankees.
Yeah, this is a team that, everybody's talking about him now, and I know they snapped the Orioles streak yesterday, but don't put all your faith in the Dodgers here. The Dodgers could be fading out of this thing because I think the Padres are going to get hot, pick up some, guy. They got, both the Padres and Giants have something the Dodgers don't have, and that's guys that can eat up innings, and that's closers in the back end of that bullpen that bring nothing but heat. And Duvall with the San Francisco Giants, Hader, that's lights out with the Padres. And the Dodgers don't have that, and you need that in the playoffs.
Yeah, Hader's good. And San Diego was kind of the parallel of the Mets this year up until, this point. They've been ultra big money spent. They're kind of the little brother team in the state that they play in, and they just couldn't do it this year. But they still have time. They do still have time, and I think the Padres will get it back and get in the race. The Dodgers now they're just neck and neck with Arizona. Now they're better than Arizona. They should blow past Arizona.
Well, the Giants are holding. The Giants are holding there, and I think the beginning of the end for you guys was, I think the glue there in New York, and you let him go, was Michael Conforto. I've always liked Michael Conforto.
Yeah, I like Conforto too. He was hurt though, and he wanted a lot of money. But listen, I tell people I have a list, right? And one day I'll go through it with you. I have a list. It's called former Met. Former Met now good. Okay, Michael Conforto's on it. Justin Turner, out there, is on it. People like that. It's just Michael Conforto was good for the Mets. He played. He played in the World Series. He had a home run in the World Series. He was a good player. He wanted a lot of money, and I don't know why this was before we got Uncle Steve as the owner, because we would have just paid him, right? Now we don't. We have buildings full of money. That's why when everyone's like the Mets are going to be sellers, the Mets don't have to be. Why are you a seller? To save money,
Well,
right? Mets don't need to save money.
Seller, but here's the thing: if you're not a seller, this is the same team that's coming back next year. And what have you added other than Diaz?
Well, we're going to add free agents.
You really got to look at it. And Ohtani really hasn't won here in Los Angeles. So if you can't win in Los Angeles, what makes you think you're going to win in New York or someplace?
They're the West Coast Mets.
Yeah, they're
the West Coast Mets. Yeah, I mean, you had, like I said, you have Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle out there, and you can't win. And Ohtani, I heard rumors now that Ohtani might go to San Diego only because I heard that all the stars there they're not getting along real well. They don't get along with each other. There's some issues in the clubhouse. I'm not positive exactly who it was, but that could be a problem in San Diego. And if they're not winning, it kind of boils over. I'm just waiting for it to happen with the Mets. I'm waiting for the in-house fighting.
If Ohtani goes to San Diego, it's game over. I mean, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Machado, Tatis, Soto, Ohtani. I mean, it's just it's murderer's row, man. It really is. It's just when you look at it, and that would be tough. And they got the pitching too. They got the setup guys and Hader. They got Musgrove that eats up innings. Darvish. I think before this is over, in the next couple months, San Diego and San Francisco are going to go neck and neck, and I can see the Dodgers dropping with Arizona.
Yeah,
National League Central is going to be one, and I'm telling you right now.
Well, the Reds. How about the Reds?
Watch out for the Cardinals, because I think the Cardinals are starting to make a move now too.
Yeah, you think so? What are the Cardinals? Listen, I'll never count out the Cardinals. The Cardinals are like taxes and death in the St. Louis Cardinals. They're there every year. You don't even know how they get there. You don't hear much about them, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're in the NLCS, and you're like the Cardinals. But I love Molina. Molina's the best catcher I've ever seen as far as defensive catchers go. He also, Molina killed the Mets. He hit the home run in the game when Andy Chavez made the catch. So he kills us, but I think he was the best catcher I've ever seen. Better than Pudge. These are the defensive catchers that I've kind of seen. And they lost him. They kept what's his face? Was it Carpenter? They pitched one more year.
They signed Contreras.
Yeah, and they're getting a little old, and they've been disappointing. I don't know if you're saying the Cardinals. I want to look at that because I don't know about that.
I think they're about 11 back, but you know what? They can make a move. I don't think the Brewers and Reds are going to hold it. I think that division's pretty much wide open. Who knows what's going to go on with the Cubs? Bellinger's starting to heat up there now. The Pirates are trying to pull some, young guys into the equation there. So it's going to be interesting. But, man, oh, man, that's going to be the thing. But the Mets, if they're going to right the ship, they got to right it against the White Sox now.
Oh, yeah, listen, I don't know if they can because you know why? Because their bullpen is so bad. And when you have a bad bullpen, it's such a crushing thing to a team. I've been saying it all year. Because I'd rather lose 8. Ottavino, Raleigh, forget it. You can sit here and name them all. They can all don't let the door hit you on the way out. But if you have a bad bullpen, it's just such crushing losses. You're blowing leads late. You finally get a well-pitched game, and then the bullpen comes in and trashes it. Because, listen, let's be real. They got 5-inning pitchers now. Scherzer is a $40 million 5-inning pitcher. Verlander, I think, is a top 10 of all time in my book. But he's gotten old. He got the Tommy John surgery 2 years ago. Last year, he obviously overextended. He pitched one of the great years of all time, but he probably burnt himself out for it.
It's tough to bring an American League pitcher into the National League and have success off the bat. We've always looked at that, and not that the American League's, the junior circuit's a little different, but I think the National League's a different style of baseball, and Verlander's trying to get adjusted to it.
But is it now anymore? Because there's no pitchers hitting.
The one guy that dominated when he came over was John Tudor.
I remember.
He kind of.
You're taking it way back to RBI baseball for me. That's how I pictured John Tudor.
Yeah. John Tudor kind of, but some of these guys, Scherzer, is boy, if he could pitch against the Dodgers every day, he'd be something. I think he's only allowed. Something like 20-something innings.
But we lose 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers every day. The Dodgers are a good team. I mean, listen, the Mets are. I mean, do you give it a buck? I don't think the game's past.
You know what the problem is? The Dodgers are doing enough just to squeak out wins and steal wins.
Yeah, but they're necking. You know what? You're right. And the Dodgers are underwhelming this year as well. But that's the problem I have with the Dodgers and the Yankees. The Dodgers are not good this year, right? The Yankees are not good this year. Not good for the Yankees is 10 games over 500 and right there in the last wild card. The Dodgers, not good for the Dodgers, is the neck and neck in first place. Not good for the Mets is 20 games out of first place because the Braves don't lose ever. And a bullpen that stinks. A manager that seems that just is like everything's rosy. Like, how pissed off? Well, we get swept by the Braves. I'm ready to kick my foot through the television, and I got Buck. I got to sit there and watch Buck in the press conference go, wow, I'm proud of my guys. You know, I got Verlander who loses 6-0, walks the bases loaded, then gives up all 3 runs in the 5th inning, and I got to hear him say in front of his locker, well, there were some good things tonight. No, there were no good things.
Yeah.
It just annoys me. It annoys me. That's why I'm going to the game tonight, you know?
You're headed to the bet game.
Yeah. Listen, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do this a lot now. All right, we're gonna do this. Me and you, we're gonna do this all the time. Why don't you tell people where they can find you? You know, a little bit about yourself, real quick, in the last 5 minutes we got.
Well, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, raised in Los Angeles. I do an XM 203, Sirius 217 Fridays. Fred Wall and Artie Source. I'm part of a WWDB AM 860 out of Philadelphia. Marianne Costello, Sal Tartaglia, and myself on Thursdays, called Liberty Bell Smack, to a Pittsburgh Pirate podcast with our first base coach, Tarek Brock, on Mondays and Fridays. And then also with the San Francisco Giants, Alex Berg, the bullpen catcher there on Fridays. So I'm all over the place. Love to be a part of this in New York with you, brother. And I can't wait for next week, man. We got to talk about running backs that are getting blackballed in the NFL.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I got a lot to say about that. We'll get to that next week. We'll have a little bit more time. I'm off to the Mets game. Mark is off to another radio thing, I'm sure, because that's what he does. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Brett and I will be back on Friday or Saturday. Brett and I will be back, and we'll talk to you next week, everybody. For Mark Mancini,
brother, have a good one.
I'm Bob Walters. See ya.